Welcome to today's video. I'm starting a series of vlogs that were part of the trip of the year. It was the biggest trip of my life as well. And I'm still kind of amazed that I was able to do that. And it took me some time to actually be able to open those videos and start to format it into something that I was giving over to other people. So bear with me as we start this series of vlogs that might be one per destination or one per theme, because there's a lot that happened and I'm still integrating all of the transformations, all of the energies that I've met, all of the people that I've hugged, and it was beautiful to be starting with this one, which is London. So I flew out from Istanbul and I arrived in London in the end of May 2023, and I went there to visit a friend. A little known fact. I actually lived in London between 14 and 21 years old. That's why I'm a French person who speaks English and is able to do work in English, because I lived in an English-speaking country. I lived in England for such a long time, starting from a young age. And I was at the French high school for a while, and then when it was time to go towards higher education, I turned towards universities and I wanted to stay in London. I didn't want to go back to France. So yes, that was that's my experience. So for me, London is home, and I hadn't been back since the last people in my family left. So it hasn't been since 2017. So it was very strange for me to not be able to go back to a place that feels more like home than Paris or Istanbul might ever have or will ever have. I grew up, I created my identity, I became a teenager when I was living in England, and I'm so thankful for that chance, for that opportunity, because it opened me to the whole world. And I really wonder what would have happened if I had just stayed in France my whole life, my whole childhood. And I'm very grateful for this beautiful experience that has totally also broken the understanding of French society and what was being taught to me and how it functions. French society has a lot of advantages and a lot of difficult things that I was so thankful in living in England as a young woman, as a teenager, and to be in a place that really doesn't judge or critic and just accepts people and the way they want to express themselves. You know, limits to that as well. It's not a perfect city or a perfect country, and I was still very privileged, but I'm very thankful and I'm so glad I'm back. And it felt incredible to be obviously back in this beautiful city, also during this beautiful weather, to meet up with some friends, to reconnect with different places that I lived, I existed in, I created memories in. And so the theme of today is healing through locations. That's something that I teach in my Reiki school, how to do energy healing through going back to specific places that you had transformative moments, whether it's a big joy or a big wound. And so I'm taking myself to a lot of beautiful places that I'm filming and that connected with my heart, that allowed me to feel the questions that I had when I was a teenager, the pain that happened to me when I was living in the city, in my family, and all of the suffering that was there, and to really have so much acceptance and compassion and connect through time to the person that I was then, and to offer whatever I can offer, you know, whatever is going on right now that I know could be helping. And whether I'm taking you to Kensington Gardens, where there's a study of Peter Pan, or I'm walking in the beautiful parks where, you know, London has seen me, like, it really is where I discovered kind of who I am. It's the years where I had more freedom than I have ever had, you know. I was older and getting older, and I was not a child anymore. And so if I am who I am today, and if I'm able to live in a different country and speak in different languages, and having learned those languages and having learned how to adjust to different societies and to adjust to different mental constructs as well, it's because I was in such a beautiful experience, but also a deeply painful experience. Imagine, having to, my parents are divorced, so I had to move away from my dad and my dad's family. I had to move away from my friends, from my schools, from my city, from my language. I had to adapt to a lot from a young age, and it was, it was, it wasn't easy, but I'm so glad because I'm here today and I'm talking to you in English, and I might have an accent. People tell me I have an accent, but I'm able to, all my life is in English. My whole life, everything I read, consume is pretty much in English, except, when I'm with non-English speaking people in Turkey, and then therefore I speak Turkish. But yeah, it's pretty beautiful to have had that expansion. And leaving your comfort zone is never something that you might want to do, and sometimes it's because you're forced that you have to expand beyond the boundaries that are around you, and the frontiers of how you consider yourself and how you consider the world. So sometimes, you're being forced, and in that case I was kind of forced, but yeah, it helped, and I'm happy that I keep pushing through. I want to mention a few other things too. I offer sessions where I work with a lot of different disciplines, like obviously energy healing, astrology, Reiki, light language, human design, and Gene Keys. And Gene Keys has this wonderful understanding of growing up, of becoming who you are, and the type of energies that are there. And one of them is the Venus sequence, which actually takes you back from, the time you were in the womb, what was the energy there, and then the formative years of 0 to 7 years old, 7 to 14, 14 to 21, and so on. And so it's very interesting that I actually followed those patterns, because at 21 then I moved to Turkey, and it's very interesting. I moved to Turkey for 5 years, but before that, so I was in France, and then I was in another part of France, and then I was in England. I was born in Germany as well, so long story short, the 14 to 21 years old, which is the time that I spent in England, is where you develop your IQ. It's the IQ sphere, and it relates to, as when people do IQ tests, but it relates to the mental expansion, to the mental sphere. This is when you form your own mind. You naturally disconnect a little bit from your parents, from the environment that you've been brought in, and then you explore the world, and slowly you form your own opinions and perspectives upon the world. And it's very interesting that this is the one that I was in. And so for me, going back to London from then on will mean going back to that young teenager that I was. And it's when I started photography, which, then became my career, and now still is a part of my life as a videographer and as a healer. But, the way that I work right now is using those skills. So I wanted to share this vlog because I filmed a little bit, although I was visiting friends. So, there's not much that I filmed, but whatever I filmed, I'm sharing it here with those thoughts. And I hope that you can journal a little bit about what happened between 14 and 21. Was there a theme? Is there a theme that needs to be reflected upon? And if you want to go with the Gene Keys and understand that more and offer yourself a healing, I'm available for session. I would love to guide you through that journey. Enjoy this new series of vlogs. I hope that sharing this trip with you will share my appreciation for the places that I visited, and for nature, and for the beauty. I'm sending you and your inner teenager so much compassion, so much acceptance, so much love. Take care.